level of results, I don't think. And if you have some questions around this, feel free to speak up without trusting your superintendent to be doing a good job. And that is fantastic, good results for you as a board. So you can concentrate on the governance side and delegate those personnel issues. I also want to point out, the most important factor in changing achievement is the teacher in the classroom. Personnel is important. So some of these questions, you know, highly qualified staff, you want to be talking about that. How do you measure that? How do you know that your teachers are doing a great job? And I'm glad to hear that the state is finally moving toward the real ultimate measure being, did you move your students 1 year's worth of growth in 1 year's time? And if not, it's not about, we all have good teachers. That is important for the board to feel good about that. It might mean, though, we need some more professional development.
Luann, we're halfway through. Can we take a 10-minute break?
Sure.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
We need an extra 15 minutes at the end.
That'll be fine. That's fine.
I can't get through the whole thing in 15 minutes.
I understand.
But in a half hour.
Okay.
Tell me about it here. Oh,
That's what we're doing good across the board.
pardon?
Yeah, we're doing good across the board.
You're about 4 anyway, in most cases. You use data, right, to set goals. At least that's what you think you do. And you understand the instructional programs, right? Provide the mechanism. Keeping abreast. We've talked a lot about the board's role in student achievement tonight. Really. It's really weaved in through a lot of the other questions that we've talked about. So I handed out just 3 documents for you because this is so critical to your success. And this is what we're learning boards do in high achieving systems. I'm not going to harp on this, but I wouldn't feel right if I didn't mention it because it so fits with everything you've talked about tonight. What are boards doing? They're setting clear, high expectations. You've done that. You've got some goals, correct? Here's areas I've heard you say, do we have the right conditions for success? And that's what these are not just any conditions. These are conditions based on effective schools and school reform. So you can always look that over at a future date. I'm not here to talk to you about that, really. More so to focus just on what do boards do to impact student achievement. This is the column here that I see evidence of as we finish up tonight. How are you holding the system accountable? But it takes a long time to even get here, am I right? It took you 2 years to get to this point where you're sort of on the same page about what we expect for our kids. In the research boards I'm working with, it's taken us a whole year to set some targets. Because first we had to figure out and study what's the most important factor, what's the role of the board, and we looked at the data before we even set those goals. So you've done a lot of that in the last couple of years. So I want you to know those are best practices, no longer just based on what we're saying boards do or based on history, but based on research that shows that's what you do to change student achievement. So I just wanted to give you those documents. You can refer to those later. But they also reflect some things here that you need to use data to set some goals. And you're saying you're doing pretty good there. Any other comments on this chart for student achievement?
We aren't satisfied.
That's right.
I mean, I think that permeates that whole, all those questions, all our responses to those questions. We're at a 4. We all want to be at a 5, but we're trying to be realistic. And
I'm glad you said that, because if I was you, this is the one you'd want to be a 5 on, across the board, and everyone's real clear on the board's role in student achievement. Absolutely. You're not satisfied with that. And again, that's areas you could work on. Now, when you say you're not satisfied, I just did a quick look at your student achievement data, because if that's your role, I took your ARM scores. Remember, this is just one set of data, and I plugged the data in here. I put levels 3 and 4 together. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have enough for everybody here. But I put levels 3 and 4 together, so if you don't mind just kind of looking over each other's shoulders on this chart, so that I got one more set. What is that telling you about how your kids are doing when you put levels 3 and 4 together? And we're just looking at a snapshot in time. If someone stopped you at a gas station and said, how are our kids doing in reading? What would you say? Levels 3 and 4. And we put 3 because that's kind of the minimum Would you hold accountable for? You'd say, what percentage of your kids are doing well? Or at least reaching level 3, what would you say? 90-some percent, right, and how about math? The red bar, a little bit lower, right, and then I just brought 2 years worth of data there to give you a look at whether or not you're improving. And this is not meant to be a data set, but just to give you that snapshot in time look at how your kids are doing. This is how we're working with some boards in across the state now in the research. We're spending a whole night on just data like this, showing it in this fashion, and that's why I gave that to you. This might be a way you might want to look at your data to make sure you know how your kids are doing. But I know one thing about moving. You have higher standards than that. So where do you want to draw the line? At level 3, or do you want to draw it at level 4? Where do you want to be for your kids? Andy, what are you focusing on now? If you're focusing on 4, well, I'm glad you answered that question, Howard. I pulled out level 4 and put it on this chart with levels 2 years worth of data. So AW, when you say you're not satisfied, I'm glad to hear you say that, because what is this chart telling you about how your kids are doing 2 years over time if you just pulled out level 4? What's that chart telling you?
We're down in some areas, we're up in some
Yeah,
areas.
you got some trending down as kids get older, and yeah, you're not seeing a consistent trend forward. This is 1 year's worth of data, a snapshot in time, so I want to caution you that that's not enough data for you to make decisions on. But I like that you're not satisfied either. And if you shore up some of these things in your board evaluation that we see, and take some, it's sort of like a slight edge kind of thing, when you just shore up a little bit better as a team, you would hope that it would have a better impact, a stronger impact on your students, right? And as the board raises its expectations for this kind of data, and the board says we want to see this trend change, and your superintendent and leadership teams in the system start bringing the data forward, then the board can see that things are changing. And that's where it ties back to some of the other questions that we had a little lower scores on. We're not understanding teaching and learning as well, maybe. Okay? And I think that ties in well with questions?
I was just looking at the,
You got some room you could grow.
yes, we do,
Totally.
absolutely.
Totally. And I think the high school exam, that's the high school exam, that's not ARM in grade 11. I should add a change
Oh, okay.
on the title. So you would want to spend, remember those work sessions? I said you might want to add them back in. But focused on this data and what's going to change. That's what we see boards doing. What are our greatest hopes in this district, in this area, and spending time on that? What are the targets going to be next year? And in which kids do we want to reach? And that's your job, asking those kind of questions, and then supporting your staff when they bring those improvement plans to you. Does that make sense? That's where we're going with our board governance.
So this is to be our number 1 goal then?
I would suggest that
As
would
a
be
board.
the area to shore up on, and then measurement for success might show up in these charts of student achievement, because ultimately that's what this is saying, right? What kind of leadership can we develop? And what's it saying that you should do? You gotta use data to set goals. You're doing okay in that area, but you've already talked about bringing more of the data to the board. What we're doing, and I'll just share, this gets a little uncomfortable for superintendents at times, but you can
I
call
already
me.
talked about my pay, so.
Yeah, I forgot to pass that one. You'll handle anything after that. The boards that we're working intensely with over 2 years, I actually go to the superintendent and I say, we're gonna do a data session. I want you to know that I'm gonna ask the board to set the goal. Are you okay with that? And of course, it's like, what? You can let the board set the goal? What? Can they know